I need you to know that I still check the reviews. Every few months, I'll search the address on Google Maps, pull up the listing, if it's even still active, and scroll through what other people have said. I'm looking for something specific. Some acknowledgement that I'm not crazy, that what happened in that house wasn't just in my head, but the reviews are always the same. Great host, clean and comfortable, would definitely stay again. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. It makes me feel insane. This was back in October. I had to go to Phoenix for a conference. 3 days of panels about digital marketing strategies that my boss insisted would be transformative for our team. The company booked my flight, but said I had to find my own accommodation and expense it later. The hotel nearest the convention centre was charging $340 a night, which felt obscene, so I went on Airbnb instead. The listing I found was perfect, or seemed that way. A private room in a house about 20 minutes from downtown, $68 a night, superhero rating, hundreds of positive reviews. The photos showed a tidy guest bedroom with southwestern decor, terracotta walls, a wooden headboard, those little cactus figurines on the dresser. The host's name was Janet. Her profile picture showed a middle-aged woman with long dark hair and a friendly smile, standing in front of a garden. The bio said she was a retired school librarian who loved hosting travellers and sharing recommendations for local restaurants. She accepted my booking within an hour. Her message was warm and detailed. "So excited to have you," she said. "The conference centre is about a 25-minute drive, but there's very little traffic in the mornings. I'll leave some breakfast items in the kitchen for you. Check-in is any time after 3 p.m. Just let me know when you're arriving and I'll make sure I'm home." I landed in Phoenix on a Wednesday afternoon. The Uber driver had trouble finding the house. It was tucked into one of those sprawling residential neighbourhoods where all the streets have names like Seguro Vista Lane, and every third house looks identical. When we finally pulled up, I saw a single-storey, ranch-style home. Beige stucco with desert landscaping out front. It looked exactly like the photos. Janet opened the door before I could knock. She was shorter than I'd imagined, maybe 5'2", wearing a purple fleece and khaki pants. Her smile was broad and genuine. "You must be Marcus," she said. Come in. How was your flight?" I gave her the usual pleasantries while she led me through the house. The interior was exactly what you'd expect. Pottery barn furniture, family photos on the walls, a faint smell of lavender air freshener. She walked me down a hallway to the guest room, which looked identical to the listing photos. Clean white linens, a reading lamp, a small desk by the window. "Bathroom's just across the hall," Janet said, gesturing. "You'll have it all to yourself. I use the master bath. Kitchen's open any time you need it. Oh, and I should mention, I keep pretty quiet hours. I'm usually in bed by 9, so if you come in late, just try to be considerate." "Of course," I said. "I really appreciate this." "My pleasure. I love meeting new people." She clasped her hands together. "What brings you to Phoenix?" I explained the conference, and she nodded enthusiastically, asking follow-up questions about what I did for work, where I was from, whether this was my first time in Arizona. The conversation felt normal. She seemed lonely, maybe, in the way that some older people living alone do, but not weird. Not yet. The first night was fine. I grabbed dinner near the convention centre, came back around 8:30, and Janet was watching TV in the living room. She waved, but didn't try to chat. I went to my room, answered some emails, and went to sleep. The conference started the next morning. I left early, sat through 6 hours of presentations about SEO optimization, and customer retention metrics, then grabbed drinks with some colleagues. By the time I got back to the house, it was almost 11. I used the key that Janet had given me to let myself in quietly. The house was dark, except for a light coming from under Janet's bedroom door at the end of the hall. I tiptoed to my room, brushed my teeth, and got into bed. That's when I heard her talking. It was muffled, coming through the wall we shared, but it was definitely her voice. At first, I assumed she was on the phone, but the rhythm was all off. She'd say something, pause for a few seconds, and then continue. I couldn't hear any second voice. No sound of a TV or radio. Just Janet, speaking in a low, steady murmur that I couldn't quite make out. I tried to ignore it. Maybe she was doing one of those voice journal things, recording her thoughts for the day. People did that, right? Or reading aloud. I put in my earbuds and listened to a podcast until I fell asleep. The next day was Friday, the last day of the conference. I had breakfast in the kitchen. Janet had left out bagels and cream cheese like she'd promised, but I didn't see her. There was a note on the counter. Hope the conference is going well. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. Jay. I spent the day at panels and then went to the closing reception. I didn't get back until almost midnight. Again, the house was dark except for Janet's room. And again, as soon as I got into bed, I heard her voice through the wall. This time, I tried to listen. I turned off my fan, held my breath, and pressed my ear near the wall. Her voice was clearer now. She was speaking in full sentences, pausing between them, like she was having a conversation. But I still couldn't hear anyone responding. I think he's very polite, she said. He works in marketing. From Ohio, I think he said. Or maybe Iowa. A pause. No, just the 3 nights. He's leaving tomorrow morning. Another pause. No, I haven't asked him yet. I wasn't sure if it would be appropriate. My stomach did a weird flip. She was talking about me, but to who? I sat there for a while, listening, but couldn't make out much more. Eventually, I convinced myself she was just on the phone, maybe with a sister or a friend, and that I was just being paranoid. I put my earbuds back in and eventually fell asleep. Saturday morning, I packed my bag and left it by the door. My flight wasn't until 6 p.m, so I had the whole day to kill. Janet was in the kitchen when I came out, making coffee. Morning, she said brightly. Can I get you a cup? Sure, thanks. She poured me a mug and slid it across the counter. So, last day, how was the conference? Good. Productive. I added some cream to the coffee, trying to act normal, even though my mind was still circling around what I'd heard the night before. I really appreciate you hosting me. Oh, it's been wonderful having you. She tilted her head, her expression shifting to something more tentative. Actually, I wanted to ask you something before you go. My chest tightened. Yeah? Would you mind writing a review? It really helps with the algorithm, you know, even just a few sentences. I exhaled. Of course, I'll do it today. Thank you so much. She smiled, but there was something slightly off about it, like she was studying my reaction. I finished my coffee and said I was going to drive around Phoenix for a bit, maybe see some sights before my flight. Janet walked me to the door. Safe travels, she said. It was so nice meeting you. I should have left it there. I should have gotten in my rental car, driven to the airport, written a polite 5-star review, and never thought about Janet again. But I didn't. I drove to a coffee shop about 10 minutes away and sat there with my laptop, killing time. And, because I'm the kind of person who can't let things go, I started searching. First, I pulled up Janet's Airbnb profile again and scrolled through the reviews. There were hundreds of them, spanning back years. All glowing. All generic. Janet was a wonderful host. The room was clean and comfortable. Great communication. But then, I noticed something. A lot of the reviews mentioned her talking to someone. Not in a creepy way, more like an offhand observation. Janet was lovely, though I did hear her on the phone late at night a few times, haha. Sweet lady, very chatty. I think she video calls with family in the evenings, because I could hear her talking in her room. I clicked on one of the reviewer profiles. A guy named Derek, who'd stayed there 8 months ago. His review mentioned hearing Janet chatting with someone through the wall, but said it didn't bother him. I looked at his other reviews. Normal stuff. Hotels, cabins, a beach house in California. Then I clicked on another profile. A woman named Ashley. She'd also mentioned hearing Janet talking at night. I opened her profile to check her other reviews, and froze. Ashley had only ever left one review. Just Janet's. I went back and started clicking through more of the names. Out of the 30 most recent reviews, almost a third of them had only reviewed Janet's listing. No other stays and no other hosts. Just hers. I told myself it didn't mean anything. Plenty of people only use Airbnb once, right? Or maybe they just didn't bother reviewing other places. But then I looked closer at the accounts themselves. No profile pictures or verification badges. The bios were blank or generic. Things like, love to travel, or excited to explore new places. And the writing in the reviews had this sameness to it. Not identical, but similar in tone. Lots of exclamation points. Lots of the phrase, would definitely stay again. I sat there in that coffee shop, staring at my screen, feeling something cold settle into my chest. I pulled up Facebook and searched for Janet's name plus Phoenix, Arizona. I found her pretty quickly. Same profile picture from Airbnb. Her page was public. Lots of posts about gardening and book recommendations and pictures of her cat. Normal stuff. But when I scrolled back through her timeline, I noticed that a lot of her posts had zero engagement. No likes and no comments. And the few that did have comments were from accounts that looked off. Generic profile pictures. Names like Susan Miller and Tom Richards. The kind of names that sound fake because they're too normal. I clicked on one of them. Susan Miller. Her profile had barely any information. A handful of friends, all of whom looked equally generic. A few posts about the weather and motivational quotes. I clicked on another commenter. Same thing. My hands were shaking now. I didn't know what I was looking at, but it felt wrong. I went back to the Airbnb reviews and clicked on the earliest one I could find. A review from 4 years ago, right when Janet's listing first went live. It was from an account called Michael P. The review was short. Janet is a great host, very welcoming and kind. The room was perfect. I clicked on Michael P's profile. The same as the others. No reviews or pictures. Joined Airbnb the same month he reviewed Janet's place. I know how this sounds, and I know what you're thinking. That I'm being paranoid. That I'm seeing patterns where there aren't any. But I sat in that coffee shop for 2 hours, clicking through profile after profile. And I'm telling you, a huge chunk of Janet's reviews were fake. Not all of them. Some seemed real. People with full profiles, multiple reviews, actual travel histories. But mixed in with them were dozens of accounts that existed solely to review her listing. The question I couldn't answer was, why? If you're faking reviews to boost your rating, wouldn't you do it at the beginning, when you have no credibility? Janet's listing had been active for years. She had plenty of real reviews. Why keep making fake ones? Unless it wasn't about the rating. I thought about the conversations I'd heard through the wall. The pauses. The one-sided dialogue. I haven't asked him yet. A horrible idea occurred to me. I opened my Airbnb app and looked at the message thread between me and Janet. Her responses had always been quick, warm and detailed. I scrolled up to the very first message, the one she'd sent me when she accepted my booking. "So excited to have you," she said. I searched her name on Airbnb again and pulled up her profile. Then I started clicking through the inboxes of the reviews, checking to see if anyone had posted screenshots of their message exchanges with her. One person had. A guy named Kevin who'd stayed there 2 years ago. He'd posted a screenshot of Janet's welcome message in his review as an example of great host communication. The message was nearly identical to mine. Same exclamation point, same phrasing. "So excited to have you. Check-in is any time after 3 p.m. Just let me know when you're arriving and I'll make sure I'm home." I felt dizzy. I don't know what I thought I'd find when I drove back to her house. Maybe nothing. Maybe I just needed to see the place one more time to confirm I wasn't losing my mind. It was almost 4 p.m. when I pulled up. My flight was in 2 hours, but I wasn't thinking about that. I sat in the car for a minute, staring at the house. It looked exactly the same as it had 2 days ago. Quiet, suburban, normal. I got out and walked up to the door. She forgot to take the key she'd given me, but I didn't want to just walk in, so I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. I tried the doorknob. It was unlocked. I pushed the door open slowly. "Janet?" The house was silent. I stepped inside, my heart pounding in my chest. Everything looked the same furniture, the same lavender smell. But something felt different. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I walked down the hallway towards my room. The door was open. The bed was made. The room was spotless, like I'd never been there. I turned and looked at Janet's door. It was closed. I should have left, I know that, but I didn't. I walked over and pressed my ear against the door. Silence. I knocked. "Janet, are you home?" Nothing. I turned the knob and opened the door. The room was empty. Not just empty of people, empty of everything. No bed, no furniture, no curtains. Just bare walls and a carpet with vacuum lines. I stood there staring, my brain struggling to process what I was seeing. And then I noticed the phone on the floor in the corner. A landline, beige and old-fashioned, with a cord that wasn't plugged into anything. I walked over and picked it up and put it to my ear. Silent, not even a dial tone. I turned and looked at the wall I'd shared with this room, the wall I'd heard her voice through. I left the house and drove straight to the airport. I didn't write a review. I didn't message Janet. I just wanted to get on the plane and go home. But when I landed in Ohio and checked my phone, there was a notification from Airbnb. Janet has sent you a message. I opened it. Hi Marcus, I hope you got home safely. I noticed you haven't left a review yet. I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to share your experience. It helps so much. Thanks again for staying. Janet. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I blocked her and deleted the app. Like I said, I still check the reviews sometimes. The listing's still active. People are still staying there, still leaving 5-star ratings. Last week, I saw a new review from someone named Marcus K. It said, Janet was a wonderful host, very welcoming and kind. The room was perfect, would definitely stay again. I've never written a review in my life.